as if it couldn't get any messier. Reports have now confirmed that Jim Jones completely lost control after seeing the video and actually attacked Cameron in a studio showdown that turned violent. Eyewitnesses say that the moment Jim walked into that room, his energy was off. The shocking video that surfaced shows Chrissy Lampkin's longtime partner in a private moment with none other than Cameron. It's grainy but unmistakable, showing the two in a dimly lit VIP section leaning close, whispering and laughing in a way that has sent the internet into a frenzy. He simply swung his fists and knocked over chairs, and the entire altercation was captured on someone's phone. Now, that video clip is going viral as well, igniting heated discussions on social media. Was Chrissy being unfaithful? Did Cameron cross a line? Or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Emotions are running high, loyalties are being tested, and the streets of Harlem have never felt colder. Stay tuned, because this scandal is far from over. It all started on a calm Sunday night when the internet exploded with chaos. A blurry video clip started making the rounds on all platforms, and within hours it was making headlines. In the granny footage, Chrissy Lampkin was seen sitting far too close to Cameron in what appeared to be a dimly lit lounge. There was an uncanny familiarity in the body language that immediately sparked suspicion. Chrissy leaned in with her hand and lightly brushed Cam's leg as Cameron whispered something into her ear, making her smile in a way that fans hadn't seen in years. For a few seconds, the camera captured her placing her hand on his chest, but it was enough to light the match that would burn everything down. Jim Jones was at home when he first saw the video, and the internet went into full meltdown mode. According to people close to him, he froze mid-scroll, staring at the screen in shock, and replayed it 3 times before throwing his phone across the room. He didn't say anything, just got up and left the house, going missing for hours. When he returned, his face looked like he hadn't slept, and his eyes were red. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliating to see the woman he had been faithful to for so long get cozy with one of his oldest friends and occasionally rivals. What's worse is that this wasn't just some random rumor, it was on video. The streets were talking, and this time Jim couldn't ignore it. The internet went crazy overnight, and fans flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with reactions. Hashtags like #JimScam and #ChrissyExposed were trending in every major city. Videos from reality shows where Chrissy and Cam appeared to share suspiciously flirtatious energies started to resurface. Comments made by Cam that seemed innocent at first now felt like clues that everyone missed. People were interpreting body language from clips that were 10 years old, making theories and connecting dots that might not have ever meant to connect. But the story had already formed. While fans speculated that Jim was spiraling, insiders claimed that he spent the entire night pacing his house and replaying the video repeatedly in an attempt to figure out what went wrong. At one point, he allegedly called his mother Nancy Jones and broke down, saying, "Nancy, always protective of her son, didn't hesitate. You need to confront this head-on, baby. Don't let them play you like this." At that point, he allegedly told her, "Nancy, always protective of her son, didn't hesitate. You need to confront this head-on, baby. Don't let them play you like this." This time, Jim Jones went completely silent online the following day. Fans began to worry that he might be planning something drastic. Behind the scenes, Jim was attempting to contact Cameron. He texted and called, but got no response. According to a close friend of Jim's, he wasn't even with Chrissy at first. He just wanted answers from Cam, like, "Why would you do this to me?" Cameron's silence was deafening, as if he was acting as though the whole thing didn't exist. 2 days later, everything exploded again. Leaked a screenshot of Cameron's private, direct message in which he laughed off the situation while responding to a fan who said, "I stole his girl." Fans began tagging Jim wildly after seeing the post, which went viral in a matter of minutes. Jim Jones reportedly lost it when he saw it, grabbing his car keys and calling up a few of his people and saying, "We need to talk face to face." However, sources claim that this was no longer going to be a conversation. Jim drove directly to a studio in Harlem. When Jim pulled up to the studio, he didn't even knock. Instead, he pushed the door open and stormed inside. Cameron was in the middle of a session laughing with a few friends, completely unaware of what was about to happen. According to witnesses, Jim walked straight up to Cam, didn't say a word, and punched him square in the jaw. The room went dead, silent, and then chaos broke out. Cam staggered back, shocked, asking, "Yo, what?" Cam tried to push him away, but Jim threw another punch. It took two of Cam's boys to pull him off, and even then he continued to yell, "I trusted you, I brought you into my house, and this is how you repay me." Security hurried in seconds later and separated them, but the damage was done. "What the hell is wrong with you?" But Jim wasn't done. "Do you think this is funny?" he yelled, grabbing Cam by the shirt, similar to how Chrissy's video went viral. The room captured a portion of the fight on camera, and suddenly it was online. Jim and Cam's battle was being reenacted on every screen, leaving fans in disbelief. "Isn't a joke," one person wrote. Everyone agreed that the Dipset Brotherhood was officially gone and that the treachery went further than anybody had anticipated. But even after the battle, Jim wasn't finished. A few hours later, he went live on Instagram. Some blamed Cameron, while others claimed Jim overreacted. "Don't ever play with me like that. Loyalty over everything. I don't care if you've been my day one. If you cross me, it's done," he said. His lips slightly busted and his eyes still burning with rage. He said, "Don't ever play with me like that. Loyalty over everything. I don't care if you've been my day one. If you cross me, it's done." The comment section exploded with fans sending heart emojis and fire symbols, claiming that he's speaking facts. Chrissy, on the other hand, had not said a word, which only fueled speculation. What was she hiding, and why hadn't she denied anything? As the video of the fight racked up millions of views, more questions began to surface, including how long this had been going on. How long had it been going on, and whether it was a one-time incident or something deeper? As the smoke from the violent confrontation between Jim Jones and Cameron started to settle, the industry started to react. Blogs, influencers, and media outlets couldn't get enough of Shade Room Baller Alert. Hollywood Unlocked everyone was, posting the fight clips and speculating what would happen next. Jim Jones wasn't looking for answers anymore. He had already made up his mind this. What would Chrissy say if she finally broke her silence? In the midst of all this chaos, one voice remained silent: Chrissy's. There was no post, no story, no comment, and fans were beginning to turn against her, claiming that her silence was as loud as the video itself. They wanted answers, a confession, or at least the denial. But Chrissy had disappeared from the public eye, which made matters worse. Cameron was attempting to control the damage, and a day after the fight, he uploaded a video to his story in which he and his crew were laughing, downplaying the entire incident as if it were a simple misunderstanding. "You'll believe everything you see online," said smirking. "Come on, man, that's family. This isn't that deep." However, the bruises on his face told the truth, and fans weren't buying it. Clown emojis and snake gifs were all over the comment sections, and people were calling him out for breaking the sacred code of brotherhood. No matter how cool he tried to act, the narrative was out of his control now that Jim Jones had made it public, and there was no turning back. Behind closed doors, Chrissy was spiraling, according to someone in her inner circle who said she was utterly overwhelmed by the backlash. Chrissy allegedly broke down in tears, locking herself in her apartment and ignoring calls from friends. The source revealed that she thought it would remain private, but now she feels like the entire world is against her. The guilt was present, but so was the fear that everything she had built with Jim was now permanently broken. She had been with him through love and loss, but felt different, like the end. Then, just when things couldn't get any worse, a second video was released. This time, it was shot from a different angle, clearer, brighter, and longer. And instead of Chrissy and Cameron sitting close, it showed them holding hands under the table. Laughing like two asterisks, the internet went into full meltdown once more, as the video ended with Cameron leaning in and Christy whispering something into his ear that made him nod with a slow, confident smile. It wasn't flirtation anymore. It was confirmation. Fans were shocked, hurt, and furious. They really played Jim like a fool. The pressure was mounting, and it was obvious that something had to give. When Jim Jones saw the second video while in the studio, he didn't even flinch this time. According to a close associate, he was numb, as if his heart had already been torn out. Jim didn't say much. He just nodded slowly, turned off his phone, and kept recording music. However, the lyrics were darker and angrier, with lines like "they stabbed me in the back and smiled while they did it," and in snippets that he posted. Later, it became clear that he was using the booth to bleed out the pain. But even music couldn't conceal the storm that was building inside of him. Mona Scott Young, the Love and Hip Hop producer, was in full crisis mode behind the scenes. Began phoning people to try to get exclusive interviews, raw footage, or anything else to capitalize on the buzz. She told her team that if they were falling apart, they would be on camera every second of it. Meetings were set up, deals were discussed. And there was talk of a live reunion special that would bring Jim, Chrissy, and Cameron face to face with the world watching ratings gold. However, not everyone was on board. And at first, Chrissy refused to sign off because she felt taken advantage of and embarrassed. She didn't want to face Jim on national television. But Mona knew how to push the right cam ever. The showman didn't hesitate. He saw the opportunity and jumped at it. "Let's clear the air," he said. "If people want drama, let's give it to them." As word spread that all three had agreed to appear, tickets for the last specials sold out in hours. Chrissy hesitated before agreeing, but at the end she said, "You want people to hear the truth, not just the gossip." On the day of the taping, tensions were extremely high. The green rooms were divided, security was doubled, and the energy was high. Blowers were setting up interviews outside the studio, and everyone wanted to see the explosion firsthand. Behind the scenes, Jim was getting ready as well, but his motivations weren't about ratings or redemption. Instead, he wanted closure. He wanted to look them both in the eye and say everything he couldn't say with fists or phone calls. He told his manager, "I'm walking in with pain, but I'm walking out with peace, whatever that looks like." When the cameras started rolling and the three of them sat down across from each other under the glaring studio lights, the room went silent. The host greeted everyone and wasted no time in asking Jim what he wanted to say to Chrissy and Cam. Today, Jim looked at Chrissy and then at Cam, his jaw tightening. "I trusted you all." Backstage was filled with anxiety. Chrissy arrived in all black, her eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. She looked shaken but determined. Cam arrived laughing and joked with the crew, acting as if nothing was wrong. Christy tried to reply, but he interrupted her, saying, "I gave you my heart. I gave you my loyalty, and you gave me a slap in the face." Cam leaned forward to explain, "Look, man, it wasn't like that. It just happened." Jim wasn't having it. Feelings don't get complicated between brothers and their girl. That isn't complicated. That's dirty. The audience gasped. The tension was palpable. The host attempted to guide the conversation toward healing, but the damage was evident. Every glance, every pause, every unsaid thought hung in the air like smoke from a fire that wouldn't go out. As the special went on and each person gave their version of events, it became clear that wasn't just a failed love triangle. It was a collapse of trust, friendship, and family, and it wasn't going to be fixed with one televised sit-down. Jim Jones stared at the host, and her words sounded hollow. The host, desperate to regain control, asked Cameron to speak up just as the tension seemed ready to explode. "Where do you stand in all of this? Your actions seem to have escalated things between Jim and Chrissy." Cameron leaned back in his chair. a slight smirk creeping across his face. "Ain't nobody escalating anything? It's all about perspective, man," he said, rubbing his eyes. Chrissy's eyes were filled with a mixture of betrayal and hurt, and she was unable to look him in the eyes. And the audience cameras and millions of viewers at home were anxiously anticipating the next bombshell. The host persisted. "But Cam, you and Chrissy, this isn't just about feelings, are you? You two were close, really close, and now Jim's calling it dirty. How do you respond to that?" Cameron's smirk faded a little and he leaned forward. "I understand that, I do. But what you won't understand is that sometimes people grow apart. Things change, feelings shift, and what might have been there before isn't there anymore." He paused, looking over at Chrissy. "That's just life, man." She whispered, "This isn't just life, Cam. This is betrayal." Her face went pale and her hand trembled a little. "You know that, right? What I had with Jim, was real. It wasn't just some fling. This was everything, and now I've destroyed it all for what? For what, Cam?" Her voice was raw, and even Cameron seemed to soften at her words. "Look, I'm not saying it's easy, not saying it was right," she said in a tone that changed, "but I'm saying it was inevitable." Jim's eyes hardened as he said, "I didn't want this to go down like this, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend I didn't see this coming." He stood up suddenly, his chair scraping the floor, and the studio lights flickered as the audience gasped. "You didn't want this to go down like this, Cam. You wanted this. You wanted all of it, and you got it. Now look at us. Look at what you've done. You took my woman, my friend, and you turned it into a joke." Jim yelled, his voice rising. "This isn't some reality show for you. You've ruined everything. We stood for everything that we built." The host attempted to calm the situation, but it was obvious that the damage had been done. "Jim, do you think there is any hope for reconciliation? Can be repaired, or is it over? For good?" Jim took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, as if trying to keep his emotions in check, his fists. Chrissy looked down at her hands, the weight of Jim's words sinking in. She couldn't meet his eyes. How had they come to this point? Had it gone from being a loving couple to this moment of devastation? She had no answers, only the pain of knowing it was her fault. His voice was quieter now, and he clenched his hands and said, "I don't know. I don't know if it can be fixed." What do you do when everything you believe in falls apart, when your closest friend and your woman betray you in the worst way? Can you ever trust them again? Chrissy's eyes were full of tears. "Please believe me, Jim. I never meant to hurt you. I thought I could handle it, but I couldn't. It was a mistake. I should have never let it get to this point. I'm sorry." Her voice trembled, but it was too late. The audience wasn't sure who to support. The host addressed the audience as the cameras continued to roll. "What we've witnessed today is a raw, unfiltered look into the lives of 3 people caught in a storm of betrayal, pain, and broken trust," he said, after remaining silent for a moment to allow the emotions between Jim and Chrissy to play out. "I get it, man. I really do. But I'm not the one who needs to fix this. You all need to talk. Figure it out, because this isn't my battle anymore. I'm out," he said calmly and firmly. The audience was left wondering if would be the last time they ever saw Jim and Chrissy together on screen, or if they could somehow find a way to mend the broken pieces. In the days that followed, social media exploded with reactions. Chrissy sat silently with her hands folded tightly in her lap, while Jim stood a few feet away, his back to her, his eyes fixed on the floor. The tension in the room was palpable. Are they ever going to heal? Jim's cryptic social media posts fueled speculation that some thought he was hinting at his next move, while others wondered if he was secretly plotting revenge. Chrissy stayed off social media, her silence only adding to the mystery. Others sympathized with him, understanding the complex nature of relationships and feeling for both of them. But one thing was clear: this wasn't just a fight between friends, but a public meltdown that everyone was watching and everyone had an opinion on. Will emerge when it's prepared. I'm merely following along, Time would tell, but one thing was certain: the world was watching. And they couldn't turn away as Jim Jones's and Cameron's fallout intensified and the media frenzy surrounding the drama reached new heights. The countdown to the next chapter of this drama was already underway. Would Jen confront Cameron one last time? Would Chrissy find a way to redeem herself? And most importantly, would this be the end of their friendships? Or was there still hope for a reconciliation? It all started with a simple video, and Cameron, who had always been known for his playful and occasionally unpredictable behavior, took a step that no one saw coming. He posted a cryptic message on his social media accounts that sent the internet into a frenzy. "It's never just about one person," he wrote. Normally a private person, Jim started sharing his frustrations more openly. And his fans, who had been supporting him through all the turmoil, started to worry that this situation was spiraling out of control. We're left wondering what Cameron was hinting at and what he meant when a few old photos appeared online again, showing Cameron and Chrissy much closer than anyone had previously thought. These weren't just pictures, though. They seemed to hint at a deeper connection that had been kept hidden from the public for years. The pictures didn't tell the whole story, but they caused fans to wonder what Chrissy had been hiding all along and whether there was more going on between them than Jim had ever realized. The internet went crazy as people began to speculate about what might have happened behind the scenes. In the meantime, Jim Jones was becoming more outspoken about his feelings. In a live video, he opened up to his followers, his voice shaking with emotion. "I've spent years building my life with the people I trusted," he said, his words full of pain. "And now it feels like everything is falling apart. Cam and Chrissy both." Some people thought that Chrissy and Cameron had been involved in a covert relationship for years, while others thought that Jim had just been caught off guard by something he wasn't prepared for. The rumors continued to spread, and the situation became even more complicated. "Turned on me, and I'm not even sure what to believe anymore. I never imagined that I'd be in this situation, but here I am. This is more than just a fight. It's about betrayal." The fans expressed their support in the comments section, but others were critical, questioning whether Jim was being overly dramatic or emotional, especially in front of the cameras. Chrissy, on the other hand, stayed silent for a while, but the pressure was growing. After weeks of witnessing the drama play out, she finally broke her silence in a social media post. But her words only seemed to increase the chaos sometimes. "Life throws challenges your way that you never expected," she wrote. "Sometimes you find yourself in situations you can't control. I've been through a lot, and I don't have all the answers. I just want to move forward and find peace. I never meant to hurt anyone." Her message's cryptic nature only fueled the speculation. Fans couldn't decide if she was genuinely sorry for her part in the mess or was trying to distance herself from the drama. And the gap between her supporters and detractors widened. However, just when everyone believed the situation had reached its apex, Cameron stirred the pot once more. Kay posted an enigmatic video, one that appeared to mock Jim while simultaneously revealing a shocking revelation. Regarding Chrissy's involvement in the video, Cameron was seen jokingly walking down a hallway saying, "You all think you know what's going on. But trust me, it's just the beginning." He smirked and said, "Sometimes the people you think you can trust aren't who they appear to be, and sometimes it's too late to fix the damage." His words sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Had Cameron just revealed that there was more to the story than everyone knew? The internet was bombarded with new theories, but nobody could agree on what was actually happening. The tension was unbearable, and fans were on edge, wondering what would happen next. Jim Jones and Cam were reportedly scheduled to meet face-to-face. Rumors began to circulate that they would finally have the long-awaited confrontation. Both men had been quiet for a while, but now they were ready to face each other and settle their differences. Jim had previously stated that he was ready for answers and had no intention of backing down. Cameron, on the other hand, had been acting as though he had the upper hand, dropping hints that he knew something that everyone else didn't. Arrived, and the media was in a frenzy. Cameras were set up, reporters gathered, and fans eagerly awaited the two men's meeting. The question on everyone's mind was simple. Would they be able to work things out, or would emotions blow up again? Chrissy, who had been mostly silent in the background, was rumored to be at the scene as well, but her presence only served to fuel the fire. No one knew what to expect, but one thing was certain. This was going to be a moment that would be remembered for all time. As the cameras rolled, tension was high between Jim and Cameron. "I'm done," Jim said abruptly, his voice firm but full of emotion. "I don't know what you've been playing at, but I'm not going to let you keep messing with me. I want answers now, and I'm done pretending everything is okay." The men stared at each other for a moment, the weight of their previous friendship hanging in the air. The tension in the room was palpable as Jim Jones looked down at Cameron, waiting. And the words hung heavy in the air as he stood there with his expression inscrutable. It was obvious that this would not be an easy conversation. But instead of responding right away, Cameron looked as if he was considering how to handle the situation. "You think you've got it all figured out, huh?" Cameron finally spoke in a low but steady voice. "You think I'm the one who messed everything up?" "No, Jim, I'm just playing." For a brief moment, there was total silence as the unpredictable character leaned back against the wall with his arms crossed over his chest. Jim's words challenged Cameron to defend himself and explain the chaos that had occurred between them. Jim felt his blood boil when he heard Cameron's words. "You know this game better than anyone, but you've been blinded by your emotions. Chrissy, the video is everything. You're looking at it all wrong." This wasn't the apology he had been hoping for. Nor was it the kind of response that could mend the years of friendship they had shared. Jim's disappointment was evident as he took a step forward. "You don't get it, do you?" Jim snapped. "This isn't about some damn game, Cam. This is about trust. You crossed the line. We were supposed to be brothers, but you've been keeping things from me, Chrissy. Why was she even involved in this mess? What was all that secret stuff you two were doing behind my back?" Cameron's voice cracked slightly as the weight of betrayal was evident in his words. "You're acting like I'm the villain here," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Maybe you need to back and look at what's been happening. You've been caught up in your emotions, chasing answers that you can't even handle. Chrissy, she's her own person, and if she wants to do her thing, that's on her. But don't act like you." Cameron's words hurt, but Jim wasn't backing down. Clenched his fists and took another step forward. "You're telling me that I'm to blame for all of this?" Jim asked, his voice rising in anger. "I trusted you, Cam. We've been through thick and thin together, and this is how you repay me. By playing games and keeping secrets." Jim's pain was evident in his voice. He had always looked up to Cameron and admired him for his tenacity and street smarts. Now, those traits felt like they had been turned into something toxic, and Cameron's response was cold, almost dismissive. "I didn't do anything to you that you didn't already know deep down." Cameron's voice was low and almost mocking, saying, "You've been living in your little bubble, thinking everything was perfect? But life doesn't work like that, Jim. You've been too busy pretending, too busy acting like you had it all figured out. Well, guess what? The truth hurts. It always does, Jim." Jim's face froze as the anger welled up inside him. This was no longer just about Chrissy or the video. It was about Cameron's betrayal of their friendship. Jim could feel the weight of the years of camaraderie slipping away, and it was suffocating. To simply accept this, "I'm going to let you walk away like this after everything we've been through," Jim said in a trembling voice. Cameron didn't seem fazed and shrugged, almost as if he was bored with the conversation. "Look, Jim, I'm not going to sit here and explain myself to you," Cameron said nonchalantly. "We've been through a lot, and if you're too blind to see it, that's on you. I'm not here to fix things. I'm here because you need to hear the truth. I didn't start this war, Jim. I'm done with all of this. Cam, You don't get to mess with my life like this, Cam. I trusted you. Jim stood there, his mind racing. Was Cameron really that heartless? Did he really not care about the damage he had? Caused Jim's hands balled into fists as he took another step closer to Cameron, his eyes narrowing. You've lost your damn mind, Jim hissed. This isn't about the truth. It's about you being the coward hiding behind your lies and your games. And now you're driving Chrissy into it. Maybe I've messed up, Jim, Cameron said quietly. Maybe I've made mistakes, but I never wanted to hurt you. This is bigger than us, bigger than all the pity drama. You've got to understand that. But I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking you to forget everything. All I can say is that it is what it is. There was a moment of silence between them, the tension growing with every second. Cameron stared back at Jim, his expression unreadable. Then he took a deep breath and spoke again, this time with a little more sincerity in his voice. The two men stood there in silence, the years of friendship and the weight of their shared history hanging between them like a delicate thread, ready to break at any moment. One day we'll understand each other better, but not today. Not now. Jim's heart pounded in his chest, feeling the weight of Cameron's words. But it didn't make the situation any easier. The betrayal and the lies were too much to bear. You've changed, man, Jim whispered, his voice heavy with hurt. And I don't know if I can forgive you for that. Cameron chose not to answer. Asterisk with his heart heavy with unresolved emotions, Jim Jones turned his back on Cameron. He knew that this moment would haunt him for a long time. What had once been a brotherhood was now shattered by secrets, betrayal, and the aftermath of one viral video. Jim didn't know what the future held for him and Cameron, but he was certain that their relationship would never be the same again. As Jim left, he couldn't get rid of the feeling that the worst was still to come. The public was still waiting for the full story to unfold. The video, the rumors, the accusations, everything was still out there, and it was only a matter of time before the media would shift their attention. With his heart heavy with unresolved emotions, Jim Jones turned his back on Cameron. He knew that this moment would haunt him for a long time. What had once been a brotherhood was now shattered by secrets, betrayal, and the aftermath of one viral video. Jim didn't know what the future held for him and Cameron, but he was certain that their relationship would never be the same again. As Jim left, he couldn't get rid of the feeling that the worst was still to come. The public was still waiting for the full story to unfold. The video, the rumors, the accusations, everything was still out there. And it was only a matter of time before the media would shift their attention.